are, guys? It's popping.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the food community. This is the Protect Street Vendors podcast. My name is Alex Enamorado, and here we have a very special guest. We have Power Pride. This is one question I wanted to ask you. Is what I'm not well. First of all, I'm not here as her boyfriend. I'm actually a big fan of her work before we actually even met in person, and I got to talk to her, so I knew who she was. I knew she was a big activist. So, what do you want people to call you? Do you want people to call you Wendy, Power, or Pride, or Tochli? What is it?
Well, I mean, I prefer Dodgely, but almost everyone already knows me by Power Play.
What's Tochli? What does that mean?
A rabbit,
A
and now
rabbit?
what?
And Nawa? What's Nawa? Well, I mean, for the people who don't know what Nawa is, what's Nawa?
It's a original language that from our descendants, Mexica.
Mexica. Okay, cool. So, when I first met you, I met you at a protest. I think you were doing traffic control or security,
Both.
both. So when there's a big protest going on and there's a large crowd, that is what you do,
Yeah,
right? And do you like doing that?
I love doing that.
Yeah. So basically, you're making sure that everyone's safe. Um, what is it? What is one of the tasks that you have? Because I know from what I've seen, you were telling people where to go and what to do, right? Like if you're getting close to an intersection and the crowd is getting close to an intersection and the light is green, what do you do? What's the protocol?
Well, I mean, we basically just go ahead of the people marching and just stop traffic and make sure that they're safe until the last person,
Goes
from
through.
goes through.
So it's kind of like a parade.
Yeah.
So you make sure that everyone goes through. What do you think about people who say like, why are you guys stopping traffic? We got places to go, like, and they pretty much bitch about that shit. Like, what do you have to say about people who say that?
I mean, they're focusing on the wrong thing. Like, I get it. We're probably taking 1 or 2 minutes out of, you know, your schedule, but I mean, see the bigger picture of what the person is protesting, either police brutality, immigration stuff.
Yeah, that's one thing that they don't understand, right? They don't understand that. Yeah, they might be or 1 or 2 minute late to wherever they're going, but the people that we are protesting for, their time stopped. Whether it's they were killed by a cop or whether they were separated from their families at the border. Just imagine that, right? Imagine being locked up for unjustly. So I think that's a good rebuttal to that. And has anything crazy ever happened? Like while you're protesting, like has anything gone south?
Um, no, well, I mean, other than police getting crazy or cars trying to run over people,
Hmm.
um, people trying to fight.
And talking about that, this weekend we were in Victorville. I was a little more behind the crowd. What exactly happened on this weekend in Victorville?
Well, we were marching from the front of the police station to the back. And as we were marching back to the front of the police station, we're crossing. There was a car coming by and just giving dirty looks. Um, we were marching back to the front of the police station as we were crossing the what was it?
The
I
driveway,
think
the
yeah,
entrance,
the
the car
entrance
wash.
of a car wash. This car just started honking, trying to go through people, like trying to run over people practically. And it went through and then came back around and came back again.
Real
And
quick,
that's
how long, if that person would have been patient, how long would that person have had to wait for the crowd to pass by?
psh, less than a minute.
Less than a minute, right? It
Less than a
wasn't even a
minute.
big crowd.
It was
Yeah.
no.
Okay, so had they been patient, 30 seconds, they would have been out of the way. They're good. They,
Exactly.
they just didn't like. They were against it.
I think they already. I honestly, I feel like if it was a setup, I feel they knew they were well aware of what was going on. So I mean, it was just too much of a coincidence how they were like really in sync with the cops, and I don't know.
So as they're trying to run people over, what do you do? What's going or what's
Well,
the first thing
I'm
that
just
happens?
observing. I'm not even really there. I'm observing, and then until I noticed that there was a girl standing in front of the car, and the car proceeded to go forward. That's when I hit her hood, just like to let her know, like, hey, stop your car.
Hmm.
Um, as I'm doing that and just observing, that she stops, that's when I feel the guy coming behind. I didn't feel him while he touched me. When he touched me to like pull me, or push me, I don't know. It was like so quick. And I think like he accidentally, well, not I think, but he accidentally like rubbed my breast. Like he
Yeah.
touched it when he was putting his hands on me. I It was a reaction. I swung at him and told him, "Don't touch me, get away." And so as I was telling him like, "Get away, don't touch me," that's when I seen, of course, the crowd defending me, like they stepped and got in front of me, and then all of a sudden you just hear sirens and the cops come, and I noticed that as soon as one cop like he made eye contact with me, he was coming directly to me, and I seen him coming towards me, so I kind of like stepped back, and he just proceeded like to rush me, grab me on a headlock, and then like they threw me down, got on top of me, and just you know arrested me.
Wow. So and then someone that looks, I seen a guy that looks just like me
I know.
step in.
Yeah,
Did he? I think what did he do? He defend you?
he defended me.
That's a crazy ass guy while he was doing that. Um. So
Do to defend her?
what? Yeah. What did he do to the defender? The guy that looked like.
The guy that looked like you, he threw punches at him.
Really? Ah. Whatever. So reckless. So and then how do they treat you in jail?
I mean, since the get go, when they got me into the car, like they were being just very aggressive. When we got down, they were practically like just making fun of the whole situation when they got me down. One of the officers that was putting me into the station just yanked. I was wearing like a mask. He yanked it off and just like left it on my neck. And I was telling him like it's bothering me. Some other officer had to come and remove it from my neck because I couldn't like really breathe that good. And then as I was in there, I they were telling me like, oh, okay, well we're gonna you know interview all of you guys and take a report because I was telling him I wanted to press charges on the guy that put hands on me, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna take your report," and they kept just saying that, and they wouldn't come in and take the report. Then I asked for medical attention because I had banged my head, I had bruises all over on my left side, and they said, "Oh, until your people leave, we're not gonna give you no medical attention." I go, "Okay, well, I want a phone call." There's no phones here. So they had me there till like 7 p.m. handcuffed. And I kept on telling because I have an injury on my left arm. I kept on telling them like, hey, I'm already inside a room. You can't uncuff me. And my arm's really hurting and it's giving me chest pains. They're like, oh
So
no,
from
no.
noon till 7 p.m. they had you handcuffed.
They had me handcuffed and no medical attention. They kept coming in because they had me on a room that had like throw up in the bottom, like on the carpet. And they kept on like trying to joke around, like, "Oh, what did you do?" I go, "That's not me. Why are you trying to crack jokes?" And like, "Oh, are you comfortable enough?" And I was like, you guys are just being petty by this point. Um, so they just kept saying, your people are still here, so we can get you medical
What
attention."
do they mean? The people outside protesting for them?
Mm-hmm. And so finally, like around 7, they took me to the hospital. The nurses at the hospital were just very rude because they're like all buddy buddy with the cops. They didn't even give me proper attention. All they gave me was Motrin, no X-rays, no nothing. Um, After that, they transferred me to a county in Adelanto. I believe that's what they said. Um, they kept me there, what I think like 3 hours or
Mm-hmm.
something, 2 to 3 hours. From there, they transferred me to West Valley.
And then you were there. So in total, you were there for like 24 hours, right?
Yeah,
Until you
I
got
think a
bailed
little
out.
bit past because I got out like till
Yeah, until we
yeah.
bailed you out. And shout out to everyone who helped out. We were able to bail you out and everyone else who got arrested. In total, there was 4 people that were arrested.
Hmm.
Um, and the reason why we were protesting there was because of that girl who
That
was
got
body slammed,
slammed.
right? And for all the haters out there saying that, that girl should have been fighting, fights happen all the time, right, in high school.
Exactly.
And that girl was fighting someone else, and as the cop approached her, she was looking down on the floor. I don't think she ever even knew that that was a cop, but till then, and when I slowed down the video, she never even grabbed the pepper ball launcher. She was still interlocked with the other person, and then she got body slammed, which I think was a death sentence. She could have easily broke her neck and died, and that's the reason we were protesting there. Um, Any regrets as far as this protest?
No.
No? You'll do it all over again.
Yes.
Yeah? You didn't do nothing wrong though. You
I
just
didn't.
defended
I
yourself,
just
you know?
defended myself.
So, how long have you been an activist and what inspired you?
Well, I've been going to protests like for years, but what inspired me was in high school. I got into a program named MECHA. It's like Mexican Studies for Chicanos.
Hmm.
Right there, I took a class, and that's where I learned about Ruben Salazar. And I think that just learning about like the police brutality and all the struggles that our people go through, just like, I don't know, it sparked something in me.
And for those that don't know, Ruben Salazar was a famous activist slash journalist who was killed during a protest in East LA, 1970s, right? In the
I believe
70s.
so.
And now they have an annual Ruben Salazar, the Chicano Moratorium.
Mhm.
He was already a known journalist, known activist, and then he was killed by the sheriffs, right?
Correct.
Okay, by the cops. So that's what got you. That's what got you inspired. And from there, what led? Because I know what you were doing before I met you. You were doing. You're still doing that. You know, you focus on the which what we're doing today, right? We're gonna protest uh, the kids being separated from the parents at the border, right? That's what you still do to this day. What made you get more involved? And this is gonna go down to how we met. What made you want to reach out to me and want to get involved with the street vendors?
Well, I believe the first time that we met was when we organized a protest in Long Beach
Hmm.
for the kids that were being separated at the border. Um, then that's, I think we were put like in a group chat, and that's when I started hearing when you would, you know, talk about like your having security for street vendors. And since I was doing security already, I remember you had an event for street vendors, and then you were asking, I believe in your social media, you were asking like for people that wanted to do security for street vendors that had already been like assaulted or been through stuff. And so I asked you, I believe I asked you if I could do security at your event, and then I'll be down to do security for street vendors, you know.
And 5 years ago, or when you see all these attacks happening, how would you feel when you would see a street vendor get beat up or messed with?
I never really seen it. I think I seen it. My first case that I seen was the one that street vendor got killed in where was it? Fresno.
The Fresno one,
Yeah,
2021?
that was the first time I ever noticed that street vendors even went through stuff like this.
Really?
Yeah,
And how do you feel now when you see a street vendor getting attacked?
it's worse now because we're like, I'm actually out there with you, hearing it from their own mouths and seeing like the aftermath, what they go through. I see like the pain in their eyes. Um, when they tell us their stories. I don't know. I just it gets very emotional and like because they become family, they practically become family, and just people don't see the struggle that they go through. They don't hear like that was just an instant. People like go, they
Like
steal.
outside of social media and the
Yeah.
jokes and all the trolls and what they want to talk and say, but this is actual real life. People are being messed with. Like, let's talk about real quick about Elias, who was a street vendor who was 34 years old, who was gunned down in front of his daughter, and you have became really close to his wife and his daughter. Can you say a little bit about that? Of how what did you see her go through, having to bury her husband and her daughter, witnessing everything, and you being really really close to the family now.
Well, I see her pain every time we're with her. Like she feels lonely. She doesn't have anyone. That was her, her partner. That was the only person she had. She doesn't have no family out here. Um, Sammy, that's her parents. That's all she knew. So I think it's like a big weight on Adriana where she really can't mourn her husband because she has to be strong for her daughter. And her husband would help her. She didn't drive, so she has to learn new things. She has to learn how to drive. She's the only breadwinner now. So that's a big weight on her, and people don't see that. And she's still, asking for justice. She still has to be strong, waiting for the cops to actually do their job and look for the people
Yeah,
that killed her husband.
and shout out to Wendy because I've been so busy sometimes. Uh, there's so many new cases popping up, and I can't really keep up with a lot of the older ones. And you've been a big help, so shout out to you because Wendy. keeps tabs, especially with the women. Like I can't really connect because I'm a man. There's that limit, right? There's that boundary, right? And having you on the team has been very helpful because you get to be a little more intimate, more closer emotionally with them, right? And that's where she comes in, and I think she's been a great help with Adriana, being a good emotional support, and that's the shit that people don't see. People don't see uh, the vendors going through, these brutal attacks and the emotional distress that they have to go through. And it's not like a lot of other advocates too. Like they just come in when the lights are on, when the cameras are on, and that's I see that all the time. When KCAL or in CNN or Fox and they're all there, or Telemundo and Univision. For the first 2 weeks, every time there's an attack, for the first 2 weeks, there's a lot of people that want to help. But after that, after the whole dust settles, nobody gives a about these vendors no more. And the thing about this is that Wendy does, and I do too at a certain extent. I'll check in on him here and there, but she really goes deep. She really like has long conversations, text them, often, and I really appreciate that. So and moving forward, uh, seeing that these women go through these obstacles, right? And I know that you've gone through some obstacles, and this is what I want you to speak on because we're on the food community. There's a lot of people growing up with the way I did. Where when you growing up in the hood, there's a lot of shit that goes on that doesn't is not really seen or heard of. We're going through a lot of shit outside of the gang banging and everything else. Growing up in the hood, it comes with a lot of negativity. Like for example, alcoholism, something that I've battled in the past, or um, being in toxic relationships. One thing about you, like that, I think that doesn't just make you a strong woman. I think you're a strong person. Is that you've been through a lot, not only through relationships, but just through a lot of abuse growing up, right? So, um, what was your upbringing like? Because where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in East LA.
You're from Islos,
Mm.
so
Right.
so you and your whole family were gang members, right?
Yeah, like on my mom's side, everyone, almost everyone's gang related. My brother, my sister. So I grew up in that environment. I think that's where like the street smart
And
and
your family was actually gang related, like they went through shit. Like what did you see?
uh, everything shooting. Like my brother, I remember being with my mom every time we would hear like the helicopter or the sirens, we would run to because we lived like a block away from Salsa Park. We would run to the park and see who's getting shot or who got shot. And I witnessed plenty of times like either my brother coming back all shot up or the car, my mom actually seen when they were chasing him in front of the house, you know, getting shot at. I seen a couple of his friends, being shot at too. One of them I witnessed when they died right there at the park. So yeah, just seeing all of that.
Damn. And how's your brother now? Is he
Why me in and out of jail still?
still
Yeah.
to this day? Damn. And then how did you get away from all that? Like,
Well, I think I it never really I seen like I understand, you grow up in certain areas and that's all you see, like the gang life. But I think I always like seen past through that. Like that's not for me. I respect it and all, but it's not for me. I seen like how uh, honestly like they consider people in like the gangs like their homies, but I seen like my cousin got backstabbed a lot of times, and my brother too, by their own homies, and I
mhm,
felt like that's not really like friends that I want.
yeah.
Uh,
And growing, I know you've been through like a lot of other stuff too, like with your parents and um, what is something as a Chicana like you as a strong woman? How do you overcome being in a toxic household, right? Or what other types of stuff did you probably went through that you probably give advice someone else, a young Chicana that's probably watching right now?
I I think what it's time for us like to break the cycle, the chain. Growing up in the environment that I grew up at was like a lot of abuse. My parents always fighting. Um, I went through some stuff that I'm still not comfortable talking about. Um, but I think just our young girls knowing that there's help, there's hope, and I think that's what our society fails to show, especially like our people, that w- we don't really see that there's much help out there. At least I didn't see it. But I advise like a lot of girls that are either going like through sexual abuse or you know um just abuse in general in their households. Speak up. There is help out there because if you hold this in for the rest of your life, it affects your whole life. So speak up, look for help, tell a teacher. There's good people out there. Tell a friend.
Well, honestly, like I'm not talking to you as a boyfriend, as a person. I applaud you for being able to survive a lot of shit because I know, even prior to us dating, I know you went through a lot of stuff. And going back to what I just said, what we go through in the hood, it's a lot of toxic households, a lot of toxic relationships, right? Because I know you were in a long relationship prior to us being together. And you were, how long were you married for?
19 years.
19 years. And from what I know, it was pretty bad, right? And
It was
you went through a
horrible.
lot of physical abuse and stuff like that. Um, how were you able to get out of that?
What like I when I got into this relationship, honestly, I just got into this relationship because I wanted to get out of my house. I didn't want to be in my house anymore, and so I ended up in this with this person, and since the get go, he was very abusive, and um, I asked for help. Like the first time that he put hands on me, I asked my family for help, and you know they normalized it. And so I was like, okay, it must be something normal, I like they didn't make a big deal out of it. So I was like, okay, I stood there. Um, it just progressed to getting worse and worse. And the second time I asked for help, and I had to kick them out of the house where we're living at. And I went to my mom and I told her like, like I'm out of this. Like I don't want him nowhere near me. Like I'm done. My mom took me back and told me like, hey, you guys have kids. You guys have to work this out. Like honestly, my heart just got crushed right there, and I was like, okay, I have no family support. I have kids. Like this is my life. So after that, it was just a point of adapting and being in survival mode. I shut off completely, like feelings, everything. He seen I had no family support, so he took advantage of that. And I mean, it just got worse. The beating, it got to the point of people don't females probably males and females seem to think that if you're in a relationship there's no such thing as but there is you know so I got most of the time that I was in the relationship with him. He would beat me, and once he seen like, hey, that wasn't affecting me, like him beating me, he started beating the kids. And when I wouldn't shut up or say anything, like he had a control of me. He said, if you don't listen to me, I'm gonna take it out on this kid. So right there is where he knew my kids are my life. So right there is where he knew he had me trapped. If I tried running away once, and my best friend actually helped me. He couldn't find me, but with that being said, like he knew where I worked. Of course, he stalked me. He was at work every day in the morning, so I missed work like for 2 weeks. I, I don't know. It's a hard situation where I was like, he was doing death threats. He was breaking into our mutual friends' houses thinking I was there. I couldn't call the cops because he already, like, you're in this mindset because they have so much control over you and power where they're like, they make you fear them and believe everything that they said. And he would say like, if you ever go to the cops, um, I'm gonna kill your brother. I'm gonna kill your cousins. I'm gonna kill one of the kids. And
Can I ask if those babies are yours and
hmm
his?
hmm
So it was his own kids.
his own kids. And I mean, he would tell his own. My oldest is the one that suffered the most. He would tell him like, "I'm gonna chop your head off," you're a bitch, or "I'm gonna chop your mom's head off," and he would say like the craziest things to them, and he's like, "You're if." Once I went back, because I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to survive without a job or anything. I went back because I knew I couldn't. Like, I didn't see no way out. That's the thing. I didn't see no way out because I didn't have family support. Um, I went back, and he from there he had like a stronghold because he said when he would abuse me, like, because he knocked me out plenty of times, he would choke me until I would pass out. Um, he told me, if you call the cops, you're not gonna make it out of here with all your kids. And I have a disabled daughter, so I knew very much well so that that was possible.
And going back to all the kids were his. You
Hmm.
guys obviously you've never had kids with no one else, just him, and he would threaten your disabled daughter too.
Yeah, so that's the way I was able to get away from him. I mean, it was a blessing in disguise. It wasn't the first time that he did it. When I was at work, he used to always threaten that he was gonna kidnap the kids. So I would have to rush it out of work and go to school and get them out and like leave until he would calm down. So this time, um, he ended up getting a hold of my disabled daughter, and he kidnapped her, took her to Mexico. So he is undocumented, so he wasn't able to come back. So by him kidnapping her, I was able to get away from her because he ended up in Mexico. Um, as he was driving with her to Mexico, he would call me and he would be like, "Okay, if you call the cops, say anything, I'm gonna kill her. I'm gonna kill her and me, or I'm just gonna kill her. You're never gonna see her." So I never called the cops. I ended up just, convincing him. Like, I was telling him everything he wanted to hear. I convinced them to take my daughter to my aunt in TJ, and then I said, "You know what? I'll help you. Um, Come back over here, just take my daughter. Everything's good. It's all my fault." And once I made sure that my daughter was safe with my aunt, um, I brought her back over here with me. And that's when I told him, like, it's over. Like, I don't want nothing to do with you. I'm filing for a divorce. Like, don't ever contact me. Don't ever contact the kids. Still after that, I had to get a restraining order because he had people following me. He would say that I was then going to see it coming, that, I had to watch my back at all times. And that's when he started making threats of like, okay, he started telling me and the kids, like, either I'm going to make you suffer by killing your kids in front of you, or I'm going to make the kids suffer by killing you in front of them.
Yeah, and you know, I when I would hear these stories about this guy, I thought, maybe he's not that, I didn't, there's always two sides of the story, right? And it wasn't until this guy started stalking my pages and he made fake pages of my name, and he would I thought it was really weird, bro. This fool would go live on the page under my name that he was going under. He would go live every day for 2 hours just talking mad shit about me. He didn't even know me. Mad shit about me, mad shit about her. Every single day, bro, for 6 months. To the point where I just ignored him. But he would go live every day and just sit there, bro, and talk about her, talk about me, that he was gonna do this, do that. And it wasn't until like I finally answered one of his calls. I told him, look, motherfucker, you contact me one more time, trust me, you're gonna fucking regret it. And I don't know if he believed my eyes or my eye contact that I made with him because I was on FaceTime. Till this day, it's been almost like a year and a half, huh? He hasn't nothing. But yeah, this guy was definitely something wrong. So I'm sorry you had to go through all that, and thank you for the advice for the young Chicanas that are going through that shit. And how does it feel from going through that to having like the greatest boyfriend ever with me? No, not just kidding. I
Great.
know I'm not perfect.
You must feel
Yeah,
really good after that.
I know, right? Shit,
For sure.
for real. Like I said, I've been through similar situations too. Like, I had someone similar like that who's a female, and I, uh, you know, Luckily I was able to gain full custody of my son through all that, and there's so much drama with that, but that's a lot of shit that we go through right in the hood, like a lot of like you said, the cycle that we don't break, especially from our households that we have and all this. Um, and regardless, so do you think that you're out there helping people because you know the struggle, you know how it is to be to not having that help, right? You think that's why you do it? You think that's why you're an activist, or that is that what pushes you?
Yeah, that's a big part. Just I think like most of the people that are out there helping, they have went through shit in life and they know what pain is. So they don't want, at least that's what moves me. I don't want other people to go through the same pain that I've been through, you know. Um, I have a big heart for the young kids, because I know that these kids that are being separated at the border from their families, they're going through some shit that you hear, especially like sexual abuse, inside of these detention centers where they have them, just a trauma. And I know that's going to affect them throughout their whole life. So that's why I'm so passionate about this. And just seeing people in general, go through pain. Uh,
And sometimes
I
people
want
crossing the border, they go through the
Yeah,
same stuff from other undocumented people, Mexicans. They sometimes go through extortion and other stuff, right?
exactly.
Um, yeah. And going back to your, you said you have a disabled daughter, and I
Yes.
mean, obviously I know the story, but people don't know, and I know you're super humble and you don't like to really talk about your private life, but I see other parents who have kids like the one you have, and they they sometimes I wouldn't like to say they get a lot of well, yeah, they get a lot of attention, like they have a disabled person because a disabled daughter, because your daughter is 19, 20,
20.
20, and other parents, they go viral with it. They get, TV interviews because they have to still change diapers at 20 years old, right? So your daughter is blind. She has cerebral palsy, right? She's blind. You still have to change her diapers till this day. She's 20 years old, and that's something that a lot of people don't see that you have to go through, right? um so tell me a little bit, how has that been for you, um dealing with someone, having a daughter who's disabled, and s- why is it that you haven't really spoke about it?
It's an emotional roller coaster with
Yeah.
that. So I had her premature. She was born healthy, just premature. But 2 weeks after she was born, her blood pressure went up, and that caused like a rupture in her brain of the vein and bleeding. So that caused all the problems that you know caused her to be blind, the cerebral palsy. She has a shunt in her head. So, it did a lot of damage in her brain. uh, I don't think I really like to speak about it because people are really cruel out there,
Yeah.
and I protect my kids,
Yeah.
from everything, and uh, people can be really mean because I she's been through surgeries, so since she was a baby, you have people giving like these weird looks or making stupid comments. So just to avoid that, I think that's the reason why I don't really
I think
put
you
that
said
out
someone
there.
told you, oh, that you must have sinned, that's why, and God punished you with having a kid, right?
Yeah, a lot of these religious
Yeah.
people
It's crazy.
have like their own thoughts about it. I remember she was just a baby, and she would have therapists, from the Blind Institute come and see her every week. So this man used to live. I lived in apartments. This man used to live downstairs. When I was taking her to one of her doctor's appointments, I was coming down the stairs with her. He stopped me. He got right in front of me, and he's like, "Hey, in Spanish, he's like, why do people always come? Why is there? What's wrong with your daughter?" And I told him like, oh, she's blind. It's her teacher comes, and she has these issues. So he's like, well, what sin did you commit? That's part of like your castigo. It's your castigo. And I'm like, excuse you, like she's not a castigo in no way. She is the best thing that ever happened to me. I
Yeah.
go, if anything, you're the problem.
Yeah, and that's messed up that he would do that. And Jocelyn is a super smart girl. She's really, she has really good taste in music. Really good taste in music. I think she could be like an executive director at a studio. Like, even though she's blind, but she has really good taste in music. She's always asking for like Tupac songs, but mainly Post Malone. She has her certain favorite songs, and that's all she does all day. Sadly, she can't see, but she's music is her life. I never knew how important music could be until I met Jocelyn, until I met your daughter, because that's literally all she has, and that's all she knows. And right now she's at home with your oldest daughter, and she's listening to music right now, and she has her own playlist. Sometimes she likes to play the same song over and over again. Um, and we have videos, but we never post. I mean, even me too. Like I never posted them too, because I just feel like we like the private life, right? But at the same time, like I told you, I just recently made a few other parents, and I'm like, wow, like they get a lot of attention for having kids like that because of the struggle they have to go through. And I just wanted to bring it up today because I wanted to give you props for not only being an amazing activist, but an amazing mother. This morning, the first thing you woke up, you change your diaper, and you don't mind it. I don't see you minding it, and I don't see you ever complaining about it, and you don't mind doing this for the rest of your life, and until she's older. It doesn't matter that she's 20 years old. You're still there changing her diapers and being a mother. So yeah, I want to thank you for giving us a little insight, not just to me, but for everyone else, seeing where you come from and who you are and why you are the way you are and why you like to help people, and just giving you your flowers for being an amazing activist and mother, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions for you, Cindy. What is one of the first things that comes to your mind when I say crazy story at a protest?
Crazy. I think just recently having to deal with the cops, just the
The most
brutality.
recent one when you got busted.
That one and the one in downtown with the federal
Yeah.
cops, just when they came after Eden for just recording, and they tased him, and just, I don't know, that was crazy.
It seems pretty crazy. What's a story of her being courageous that comes to your mind when I say that to you?
Shit. When I One thing about her, she's down, she's hands on, right? And but prior to meeting me, she was really afraid of public speaking. Not that she was afraid, but she just didn't like it or whatever. When I got locked up this last time in Santa Ana, I seen her get the bullhorn, bro, and then speak up and then go out there, and I just like, damn, like for the first time in my life, I'll be honest with you, I was like, damn, this girl really loves me, man. Like, cause I know how much she doesn't like public speaking. She actually bullhorn and started talking, and then when
You were
just
able to see her.
I seen her till I got out on the
Oh, okay,
videos.
yeah, yeah,
I seen all the videos of her like knocking on the window, like let him out, and why'd you guys arrest him, whatever. And then recently, just this morning too, I didn't really notice, I didn't really pay attention because I would watch the videos and I would see myself get tackled down by that federal agent, and I noticed this morning that she was, having my back like as if these fools were regular people, like getting them off my back. And to me, that's very courageous. Like, dude, that's a federal agent, and you're helping me, helping him get off my back. I think that's really courageous. And to be honest with you, the thing about Wendy, she can stand up for her own. And a lot of machistas, a lot of misogynistic men, like they'll probably think like, oh, I'm the man, she's down here. Like, nah, like, this girl can put it down on her own. Like, if we're at a protest, I'm not worried about her. Like, shit, she got it. And I think she's a strong person, to be honest. She's just a strong person, and a veces sí le gusta el desmadre, so she's down for that. She's down for whatever.
is this the first time Wendy's done an interview?
First time ever,
Full
ever.
community exclusive.
Exclusive, exclusive. You know how many times people have tried to talk to her or interview, and I tell her like, come on, on Telemundo. I'm almost on Telemundo Univision almost every day. Like literally almost every day. Like I'm always doing Zoom interviews and shit like that, and she never wanted to. But I think, you being very creating the space, and you being cool and funny, and I think you created the space where she was comfortable enough, man. So I appreciate that.
All the stupid jokes I
Yeah.
make.
What would you like to see in the coming up in the future? Like, what's your goal? Like, what would you like to see with the street vendors and just everything in general? Like, what do you want to see in the future?
Well, I mean, in a perfect world, I would just want everything to stop, for them to be left alone. So I don't really know. I don't see it happening. Just what's going on recently, like the rate, how things are just getting worse. But that's my hope that.
Yeah, yeah. We kind of like became like first responders, for the vendors, and also just on another note, through my job, and we're always working through legislation and changing these laws and making sure that our razas were well protected, and we'll continue doing that. And then, but just want to thank you, and thank you too, man. Appreciate this. Shout out to the food community. This is the second episode.
Real quick before we clock
Yeah.
out, where are you guys going right now?
Oh shit, we're gonna. we're gonna go to the Ron DeSantis protest. So Ron DeSantis is the Florida governor who passed these inhumane laws. For example, right now there's a guy facing 20 years simply because he came from another state and was going to work. So even if you're a citizen and you have a person who's undocumented in your vehicle, you could get charged with cases. You
That's
could
crazy.
so it's very strict. He's running for it's all a political gimmick. He's running for president. So we're gonna go out to Anaheim right now. Trump is there. Ron DeSantis is there. Ron DeSantis is there, and so we're gonna go out there and because I think both administrations have been really ugly to our raza. There was a time in the 80s where the border was open. I'll tell you something. A lot of these vendors, they don't even want to be here. If the border was open, they'll just come here, work, and then go back to the country.
Facts.
That's it. But now it got politicized, so here we are. So that's where we're gonna go. We're gonna go protest Ron DeSantis right now today, 7:30 p.m. at Anaheim. All right, y'all. So this was the second episode. Shout out to Tochli. Get it right. Shout out to Tochli. This is the second episode. Next week we will have a street vendor here sitting down, and soon we will introduce y'all to the first legal tamale cart, and we will have it here in the studio. See ya.
This fool.